From the home offices of Ash and Flo, this is Unbillable Hours, a podcast about professional services marketing. Stick around to listen to our insights, tips, and best practices to improve your firm's marketing and even your career.
So I'll start by saying, welcome to this new episode, everyone. Switching it up a little bit, this time having a guest. Joining us today is Will Eke from Passle, which I'll let him explain what that is. He's the SVP of sales at the company, and he does have interesting takes on and insights into the future of content as produced by professional services companies. So welcome, Will, and maybe say a few words to yourself if that wasn't good enough an intro.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Flo, personally, and Ash. Yeah, my name's Will Eke. I work at Passle. We're a SaaS company that help professional service folk, mainly lawyers, fee earners, to get their expert insights out to the market, and we help them do it very, very quickly in a timely manner and in an authentic manner, which their clients seem to love, which is the main thing.
Which is actually why I wanted to speak to you on this. Ash and myself, we're witnessing 2 or 3 things or discussing those. So one thing is a lot of the content creation seems to go more short form, right? I'm not declaring the 32-page thought leadership piece dead, but there's a lot of appetite for shorter stuff. Distribution's certainly going into the social channels, right? People want to read opinion, takeaways, and these things in the feed. I'm not leaving my LinkedIn app to go to your landing page and then through a forum and then download something I never read anyways. So that seems to be not dying, but it's becoming less important. And one major issue we also always come back to is you call it authenticity. We often speak about expertise, like how we need to get the guys in our consulting firms, the experts, to write and to inform the content, because I myself can do web research and write something that's pretty nice and fluffy and high-level generic stuff. But the actual expertise and as you pointed out, the authenticity is what people want, right? So that is what you seem to be solving for as well. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I think the problem that a lot of firms have is that they have these amazing experts, within the company. They don't know how to empower them, or there's a number of barriers that are in the way. And often what we talk about, you're absolutely right, is sort of theories to back it up. Edelman, big B2B comms agency, they do quite a bit of research on things like trust, on things like what thought leadership and expert content should look like. And I think historically, tech companies, professional service firms, whoever it might be, a law firm, a consultancy, like you guys know, they've always been really good at these big hero pieces, these big white papers, these big knowledge papers. Look at our big report that they have lots of experts that sort of input into, or it might be external, people that input into as well, and they put a name against it. But it takes a long, long time, to produce. They normally then sit it behind, a knowledge vault or a gated environment where, let's be honest, no one really goes to, no one really logs into to look at these things. So they miss out the sort of push marketing part of it. But also on the other hand, Edelman talk about things like, in conjunction with LinkedIn, people just don't have the time to read these things. Everyone's busy, everyone is time poor. So you got this 40-page document that might be absolutely amazing, but no one in the end reads it. It's kicking up, dirt and moss.
I have an entire folder on this thing. Like I subscribe to stuff for competitive reasons, looking what other firms do, right? I'm interested. I delete this folder once a month because it's full of PDFs I never opened. Like I sit on the time, like, oh, someone has something interesting. Go through the forum, right? Download the thing. Never do anything with it.
I mean, in answer to your question, I think, again, the problem, the thing that we're finding works really well is this authenticity, as you picked out. Yeah. With those, you can't really get that across. So again, during the pandemic, during these lockdowns we've all had, these experts haven't been able to get face to face. They have on Zoom, but they haven't, really been able to press the flesh like they were before. So it's actually been a great opportunity for them to, I don't want to mean this sound in the wrong sort of way here, but to show that they're human. Sometimes lawyers, sometimes these big high flying consultants, they're just seen as people in suits, right? They're seen as these okay, this is what you do, quite robotic. Actually, the pandemic's meant that they can showcase another side. They can showcase empathy. They can showcase, I am a real person. I'm going through the same thing that you guys are. You can still, I'll still give you my expertise, but we can, there's more camaraderie that they can play. So a lot of the content that's been produced with our platform during this time it's showcasing people's personalities, plus giving the expert advice, which I think clients have really enjoyed. They really like that.
So would you say that the future is going into your way or past way, like this kind of content creation directly from the expert, shorter form, highly authentic, quick turnaround? Do you see that's already shifting, or is it I'm guessing, are you still working with early adopters? Maybe I can rephrase it that way. So can you saying it's definitely going more mainstream in the industry?
I think so. There's a danger, again, and this has happened in the pandemic. There's a lot of firms that sort of thought, okay, we've got to have a COVID-19 hub. We need to push loads of content out there. There's been lots of firms that have just pushed noise, just content for content's sake. I think, to your point, 250 to 500 words is the sweet spot. There's lots of research that shows that, especially on things like LinkedIn, needs to be consumed. But yeah, the cut through the noise, it needs to be, we always try and encourage our clients to think about why they're writing. What do you want to achieve by writing this content? And it's normally thinking about key clients. Who are your top 5, 10 accounts? Think about them, write for them. Don't write for the masses. It's not about vanity. It's about, the quality of content that you're writing. So I think, it's going to be short form. Well, things like that we're on now, the podcast, the Humble podcast. A lot of the experts we've spoken to, lawyers and professional service folk, have realized that you don't need to go to a recording studio, for hours on end to get a great bit of content out there. Podcasts are brilliant. You ask someone 3 questions around a particular topic that they know about, they'll be really enthusiastic. They'll talk about it. Lots of marketeers come back and say, we couldn't get over here to write anything for years. And then suddenly you put him on a podcast and he's been talking, and explaining all this stuff. So it's quite interesting. Different formats come into play, I think.
So when you're talking about different formats, what are you thinking about in terms of distribution? The reason I ask is there's been a recent trend where VCs are consistently talking to like entrepreneurs and startups on voice platforms, and the turnarounds become really quick. Do you see something like that for professional services firms, or do you think distribution really exponentially reduces the conversion time and stuff?
It's a good question. I think, again, you have to not run before you can walk. So I think
yeah, that's true.
Breaking down those early barriers, things like approval. Let's be honest, Ash. Approval can be a massive barrier in big firms. Okay, I've written my piece. I've done my thing. I've done everything you wanted me to do as the expert. And then suddenly there's this backlog of things that need to be approved. There's red tape everywhere. It needs to go through this partner here. It needs to go through here. Often we are told, that can delay it for sometimes weeks. So for our clients' feedback, this can be any format. It can be the written format. It can be, on a podcast or video, even longer. So I think it's really removing those hurdles and those barriers, one of which is the approval side. You get rid of that. And that's what we can do with our platform. It's a very simple, bespoke approval system. But what we encourage is what are the rules of engagement? What are the guidelines as a marketeer or BD person that you give your experts, that they then know these are the parameters? Because they don't like to fail. They've been taught by the book from an early age. And if you give them the parameters and say, well, this is what you can do. It doesn't need to be technical, actually. You just give your viewpoint. You showcase your expertise. It doesn't need to be war and peace. And it doesn't need to be, technical jargon. Do it in layman's terms. And then that seems to work really well. So you cut down this barrier that's the approval process.
Oh yeah, we can totally attest to the approval process barrier, which could be weeks, sometimes even months. I think Flo can also attest to the same thing.
It's painful. It's painful, especially talking about the big pieces, which is on the risk of taking us onto a tangent. But because the hero pieces have to be so impressive, there's often this weird dynamic where it says, "Oh, there has to be 2 or 3 client examples or cases in there," because that's how everybody learned reading the Harvard Business Review, write case studies with actual names in them. So we do that. And then I often question that and say, do we have to name the client? Like, if it's an unimpressive story, it's not going to be more impressive because you put insert corporate name in here. If it's a good story, it'll fly without the logo attached to it. But no, it has to be the logo, and then approval time jumps from a couple of weeks to months because the client has to take it through their entire PR system as well. But that's tangential comment. But I was interested in, because that's related to another thing I would like to hear your take on is, do you think that what role does frequency play in terms of, you mentioned the turnaround time of the hero pieces, and I think where that was sort of annoying in the past, it's going to become a real problem in the future, because the firms that I do see winning on social media or getting lots of traction, let's say that, they put out stuff all the time, for lack of a better word, right? They can have substantial posts out, not just once a week, but every day of the week, or more often. From a perspective of a mid-sized firm, having the social media team crank out twice a week, something that's not going to cut it in the future, in my view. I don't know what your take is.
Again, it comes back to, I think we often talk about this learning of how LinkedIn social platforms work. So we always say to an expert, okay, the marketing team can push stuff out on the corporate channel, but actually it's about you guys building your own personal brand. So make sure on things like social platforms, you follow, and so many people don't do this. I'm sure this resonates with you guys, with some of the people you work with, but they don't follow their clients. They don't know what their clients are doing. If you haven't got your clients in your contact base, then the stuff you push out there is next to useless, because it's not going to the right people, So we always say, utilize your own networks, push stuff out that furthers your brand as a fee earner, as an individual. Because you've got the firm behind you, but it's actually, you're the expert. Yeah. So you need to get your stuff out to the right people. So with that, you do get firms pushing out a lot of content, but I think we're always encouraging the individual to push out content. Don't push it out if it's not relevant. You don't need to just keep on bombarding people with stuff that is noise.
Yeah. That's a good point, and a full distinction. I mean, I should be saying, when I said the frequencies in which stuff goes out, that's the firm in general. And I think if your process is, the experts don't publish because approvals and all that stuff, it's the marketing team that does it on a fairly constrained channel, and then it's only 3 posts per week, that is probably a losing game, I would say. Sorry, Ash, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, and what you were saying is essentially it's not pushing out content, it's generating conversation, right?
Yeah.
That's what I hear from what you say. It's like, forget the piece itself. You start a conversation beforehand, continue the conversation, get your firm backing what you're trying to say, and then carry on the conversation to your client. So that way you have like a conversation funnel as opposed to your usual marketing. Something like that.
Absolutely. And that's, again, part of the behavioral change. We often talk about changing the behavior of these experts, and it really is using channels like LinkedIn. You hit the nail on the head, Ash, to stimulate conversation. What are they trying to do here? They're trying to get clients and prospects to comment and like their stuff and say, well, thanks for giving that advice. I think this, or that's really valuable because of this. And of course, they can then produce content off the back of that again. We always try and get them to think, what are your clients' pain points? And then if you can write reactive content that helps address that problem or situation, they're gonna go with you. They're gonna give you some more work, and they're gonna have that conversation. The thing is with fee earners, you want them to keep on doing it. That's the main thing. So I'll come on to it, but feedback has to be spoon fed sometimes. The guys and girls at big firms, you can get them doing something to start with. You've got to keep them doing it. You've got to make it a habit. So LinkedIn is one of those things. You get them, okay, I've done my login, I've built my profile properly, and then I've posted something, and then we always go, okay, did you see that X, Y, and Z? We know they're clients of yours. They've come in and they've had a little conversation here. They've started a conversation. They've liked your stuff. What have you done about that? Oh, I didn't realize that. So again, you have to take them through a bit like a journey on this.
Which I know you do things with gamifications and leaderboards and stuff, right, to keep people engaged. But I wanted to ask do you have any other secret pro tips for the people? Because that is for the marketing teams, that is as you just addressed our main pain point as to how do you not only get people to do it in the first place, that's hard enough, but sort of keeping at it, because you got if you do LinkedIn for 6 months and there's not much, like you get 7 likes on a post, that's it. You're doing good. Just keep going for 3 more months and you might actually see it explode. But you have to, it's not log in, like you said, do the profile, post 2 things and then stop doing it because it didn't work the first time. Like what's your secret for do you have one?
I think the secret is explaining the why quite a lot. You work with, and there's many facets we can go into on that. The marketing teams, in my opinion, they should hold more sway in firms. It's normally the fee earners. Okay, there's normally a partnership model, and there's normally this. It's difficult. They haven't often let marketing do what they should be doing. They're the marketing experts in marketing, and then you get these fee earners that sometimes don't trust them to do their job. So there's a difficult thing. So it's only been very recent that CMOs are on the same sort of we're a peer, we're on the board, we're the same as you. And in some firms it's just their job is just to do listings, make me look good in this little magazine over here and this listing where I'm the best fee earner in the land. That's not right. That's the shift that's going to take time. But I think how marketing can work and how our advice during the lockdown especially is you gamify a bit. What you need it's really key is to have a fee earner sponsor. So you actually have someone that you're trying to achieve something with content, right? It's a project or whatever you're trying to do. You need a fee earner that's normally quite senior, that's normally very well respected, and you get them to lead on it. So you get the fee earner to say, well, we're doing this because we want to raise our brand in X, Y, and Z, or we want to grow these 3 accounts over here. So we want to be seen as the go-to experts in a particular field. For a lot of our clients at the moment, things like sustainability, ESG, is very big. And that can be in real estate, that can be, in oil and gas, it can be wherever. But that lots of firms are coming forward and saying, we want to be the go-to experts in this. So, you need a sponsor to drive that so that other fee earners go, we get this. We should be doing this. Sometimes it doesn't work just for the marketing team to say, you should be doing social media. You should be doing this. But you need that fee earner sponsor. That works really well. You touched upon gamification, and we worked with Oxford University on this, and they were really clever. These behavioral scientists, they basically said, look, you need to get into the mindset of professional service folk. They don't like failure, and you need to sort of make it a bit fun. Everyone's been through quite a lot over the last 12 months. So a bit of fun actually adds to this process. And then you need to drive adoption. So what they suggested was use small groups to do it. So you get sort of no more than like 20 to 30 people. They're the adopters. They're the ones that are going to do it. You can drive adoption with that group. And they suggested fear of loss or loss aversion will be really big with these people. So you do simple things. You put them into teams. Okay. And you say, guys and girls, if you don't do something, we're going to set you up for this competition. It's going to last this long. We want you to write content. We want you to build your brand. These are the reasons why. And then you say, if you don't do it, you'll lose points. We give you points at the start of the week. You don't do it, you lose points. What happens is many people are very competitive in firms such as professional services. And then what you get is before you know it, they change their behavior very, very quickly. And then they build it into their weekly, monthly, daily lives.
Yeah, so that's very clever. I mean, the loss aversion thing is obviously that's brilliant. I also like to think about the small groups because there are systems like before starting to record, we discussed LinkedIn Elevate, we discussed Sprinkler and other platforms. These also often come with leaderboards or with just ranks, who shares the most and stuff. But it's all instances I have seen, I might be wrong, have almost the entire firm. So natural distribution laws apply. So I might not even see my own name on the leaderboard because I'm in position 560,000 of I don't know how many people.
And then it can be demoralizing. It has the opposite effect, right? So you always need to drive it with a small group, and then even when you roll it out further, you're not going to get everyone doing it. You have to be honest about this. Not everyone, I don't want to be ageist or I don't know what the word for being seniorist is. Senior people are always going to be very time poor, and they're often older, and they might be coming up for retirement. They're quite happy with their lot. They're not going to suddenly delve into social media, are they? So you need to, as a marketer or BD teams, they need to focus their energy on a team that's going to work, a level that's going to work, and they need to adopt small groups to start with, and then they grow it out because you'll get some natural adoption definitely straight away. We always find that.
That was very interesting. So since we're sort of nearing, I think, the time mark for this one, but I do want to ask if you could. We scare people with the loss aversion. We discussed the mechanics of how to motivate people. Maybe can you just describe loosely how the platform actually just facilitates the content creation process? It seemed to be around this idea, which I like a lot, of just commenting things. So I've seen a work stream where you make it very easy to take, let's say, something out of an FT or another newspaper, and as a subject matter expert, write smart commentary on it, package it all up nicely with all the links and stuff, and better publishing it. Is that still the majority of commentary the way to go, or what else?
The commentary piece, we like to see Passle as an infrastructure for our firms now, so it doesn't matter what content format they have. They can share it and they can produce it and they can then distribute it on Passle really, really easily. But you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. The first instance and one of the key problems that our clients tell us they want to solve is we've got all these experts. A few pockets of them are doing it. You know, there's always these leading lights in different teams, different sector groups that are doing it. But we want more people doing it. And the big barrier is time. You know, the big barrier is we just don't have the time to do it. That's always the pushback. So our platform, in the first instance, allows people to write content on a commentary basis, as you highlighted. I've seen this article on the BBC, on the FT, wherever it might be. And as a fee earner, we encourage them to add their spin on it, you know, add their expert advice. I've seen this. This is what it means to you, client A. So they add that commentary piece really, really nicely. It links it all together. It takes the image, it takes the associated media with a link to that original article. And then they have the ability to add in things like associated tweets that sit alongside and add context and proof. And then it publishes neatly onto their website, ready for them to distribute. Okay. That's the first instance. They can write long form. They can add podcasts in there. They can do videos. They can do whatever they want. They can put long form PDFs in there and summarize them.
You've built that's cool. And I will say that seems very much in line with the stuff we've seen or thought about internally. So it's with gamification. I like that a lot. Well, that was very interesting. Thanks much for doing this with us. If people want to find out more about yourself or the Passle platform, where would you point them online?
Oh, I'd never ask them to find out more about me. I'm a very boring guy. I would say Passle, definitely. Home.passle.net is our website, but we actually have something that we're working on at the moment. We do it every quarter. It's our Insiders Club, we call it. And what it is we invite a couple of our firms on board. We've got some big law firms this time around, and it's all around structured and successful thought leadership programs and how are they staffed. So it's actually asking these guys, you know, how have you done your thought leadership? How have you staffed it up during a pandemic, and what's worked for you? We do it every quarter, so it's slightly different this time around. But you know, we invite some prospects and we invite our clients to share best practice, really, and it works really, really nicely. Sorry, I forgot to say the actual date, 20th of May, but I can send a link over.
People can put that in the show notes, and then people can queue up online to see if they get it.
There we go.
Thank you. That was awesome. Yeah. Ash, anything to add, or are we good?
Oh, we're good. Thanks for joining us, Will.
Thanks for listening to Unbillable Hours. If you want more, tune in next week. You know where to find us.